Okay, welcome back in. I think after I do this video, I will finally be caught up with the hockey. I got to stop delaying this by 2 or 3 days. It's hard to play catch up. So there were 9 games on Thursday's schedule, starting in Montreal as we had the Canadiens playing host to the Nashville Predators. Nashville had a power play, but unfortunately they were not able to strike as Jake Evans would get a shorthanded goal unassisted, his 5th of the season, 750 of the opening period. Patrick Laine, and I hope to God he can keep this streak up, scored in his second game. Is obviously getting his second goal of the season, a power play goal from Lane Hudson and Nick Suzuki, a minute and 14 of the third period, putting the Montreal Canadiens up 2-0. Just a little side note, if he can score a goal a game for the rest of the season, I'd be happy after he missed the first quarter of the year. But I know it's hard to keep up. Yoel Armia would get an empty net goal in the third, his third of the year from Evans and Xhekaj. 46 seconds to go in the game, so the Montreal Canadiens would shut out the Predators 3-0. So they're on a 2-game winning streak. So fingers crossed, maybe we can build something here. I will take a look at the standings after this one, and we'll see how far apart the teams are. Okay, the next one took place in Buffalo as the Sabres played host to the streaking Winnipeg Jets. And I never would have thought I'd use that word in a sentence, but man, it's been a bit of a crash since they started off so hot. So Tage Thompson kicked things off in the first, getting his 14th of the year, a power play goal from Zucker and Alex Tuch, 3:27 of the opening frame. Gabriel Velarde would tie the game up at 1, getting his 10th of the year from Fleury and Scheifele, 4:14 of the first period. Dylan Cousins would put the Sabres up on top, getting his 6th of the year from Benson and Clifton, 11:29 of the first. That'd be his 6th goal of the year, 2-1 in favor of the Sabres. In the second period, Kyle Connor would tie the game up at 2, getting his 14th goal of the year from Scheifele and Morrissey, 3:06 of the second. There was no scoring in the third. We'd have to go ahead to overtime, where the captain Adam Lowry would score with just over a minute to go, getting his 7th goal of the year from Morrissey and Velarde. So the Jets would win 3-2. The Ottawa Senators played host to the Detroit Red Wings. In the first period, Josh Norris would kick things off, getting his 10th of the year from Tkachuk and Batherson, 12:14 of the opening frame. In the second period, Alex DeBrincat would score against his former team, or one of his former teams, tying the game up at 1, getting his 11th goal of the year, a power play goal from JT Compher and Vladimir Tarasenko, 6:15 of the third. And just when it looked like this game might be heading to overtime, Josh Norris would get the game-winning goal, his 2nd of the game, his 11th of the season, assisted by Batherson and Nick Jensen. And that goal happened with just 43 seconds to go in the game, so the Sens would win 2-1. Bit of a barn burner in Tampa as the Lightning played host to the San Jose Sharks. Cam Atkinson would score in the first, getting his 3rd of the year from Geekie, a minute and 26 seconds of the opening frame. Connor Geekie, who just had an assist on the previous goal, would get an assist from the guy who just scored from Atkinson, and then Hedman also assisted, 7:29 of the first period. The Tampa Bay had a 2-0 lead at that point. Brandon Hagel with his 11th goal of the year, increasing the lead to 3-0, getting his 11th goal I already said, assisted by Gensel and McDonough, 8:32 of the first period. They weren't done there. Not even 20 seconds after that, he'd get his 2nd goal of the game, his 12th of the year, assisted by Charanek, 8:55 of the first. Staying in the first, Jake Gensel felt like, I want to get on the goal score sheet too. Would get his 11th goal of the year from Hedman and points. Power play goal was 17:45 in the first period. So Tampa had 5 goals in the first period. That was wild. Anthony Cirelli would increase the lead to 6-0, his 11th of the year from McDonough and point, 4:16 of the second period. Nick Perbix would increase the lead to 7-0, getting his 3rd goal of the year from Point and Lilleberg, 18:32 of the second period. So basically Tampa and San Jose, this is like a touchdown, like 7-0 lead. Early in the third, Alex Wenberg would finally score, getting the Sharks on the board, his 7th of the year from Zetterlund and Jan Ruda, just 14 seconds into the third. Nick Paul's like, I want to get that lead back up to 7, boys. Come on, give me the puck. You get his 6th goal of the year from Point and Moser, 6:01 of the third period. So this kind of felt like one of those Oprah things, like you get a goal and you get a goal and you get a goal. Yeah, bad night for San Jose. All right, the Philadelphia Flyers played host to the Florida Panthers. Evan Rodriguez would score early in the first, getting his 7th goal of the season, unassisted, 2:36 of the opening frame. Nico Mikkola would increase the lead to 2-0, getting his second goal of the season from Kachuk and one of the Boqvist brothers, 6:57 of the first. Alexander Barkov would increase the lead to 3-0, getting his seventh goal of the season, a power play goal from Reinhart and Kachuk exactly 3 minutes into the second period. Just over 4 minutes after that, the Flyers would finally get on the board. Tyson Forster would get his sixth goal of the season, a power play goal from Farabee and Michkov, 7:13 of the second period. Nick Seeler would cut that lead to 3-2, getting his second goal of the season, unassisted, 9:31 of the second period. Carter Verhaeghe increased the lead to 4-2, getting his eighth goal of the year, a power play goal from Kachuk and Barkov, 13:35 of the second frame. Owen Tippett would cut into the lead, getting his sixth of the season, assisted by Michkov, 17:41 of the second period, making it 4-3 at that point. And then he scored not even 30 seconds after that, tying the game up at 4, his second of the game, his seventh of the season, also from Michkov. So those guys are clearly seeing eye to eye, to say the least. So I'm pretty sure we are tied up at 4 heading into the third. Garnet Hathaway with the Flyers up 5-4, getting his third goal of the year, assisted by Lawton and Ristolainen, 5:39 of the third. Gustav Forsling would tie the game up at 5 with just over 5 minutes to go, getting his fourth goal of the season from Bennett and Rodriguez. Sam Reinhart would score with just under 2 minutes to go, putting the Panthers up on top, getting a power play goal, his 19th of the season from Verhaeghe and Kachuk. And the Flyers would pull their goalie. Unfortunately, they were not able to tie it, and Matthew Kachuk would get a power play goal, an empty net goal, assisted by Reinhart and Kulikov. And that goal happened with just 11 seconds to go in the game. So a wild game, to say the least, between the Flyers and the Panthers. All right, the Carolina Hurricanes played host to the Colorado Avalanche now. 9:13 in the first period, Arturi Lehkonen would give the Avalanche a 1-0 lead, getting his sixth goal of the season, assisted by Makar. Eric Robinson would tie the game up at 1 with just under 4 minutes to go, getting his eighth goal of the season from Burns and Nietzsche. Seth Jarvis would score over 4 minutes into the second period, putting the Carolina Hurricanes up on top 2-1, getting his eighth of the season, a power play goal from Aho and Svechnikov. Jack Roslovic would score, getting his 13th of the year, 6:41 of the second period, assisted by Svechnikov and Sean Walker. So the Hurricanes had a 3-1 lead at that point. In the third period, with just over 5 minutes to go, Valery Nichushkin would cut into the lead 3-2, getting his fourth goal of the year from Kelly and Devin Tays. Martin Nietzsche would get a power play goal with just over 2 minutes to go, increasing the lead to 4-2, getting his 14th of the season from Svechnikov and Shane Gothisberg. Nichushkin with his second goal of the game, his fifth of the season from McKinnon and Makar, and that goal happened with 1 minute and 47 seconds to go. The Avalanche would pull their goalie. Unfortunately, it would backfire as Andrei Svechnikov would get the empty net goal, his 9th of the season from Jury and Sebastian Aho. And that goal happened with just 16 seconds to go in the game, so the Hurricanes would win 5-3. All right, now we're off to Long Island as the New York Islanders, fitting, would play host to the Seattle Kraken. Ty Cardle would kick things off in the first, getting his third goal of the season from Dunn and Adam Larson, 2:48 of the first period. With just over 3 minutes to go in the first, Oliver Bjorkstrand would get a power play goal, his 7th of the season from Dunn and Stevenson. In the second period, Vince Dunn would put the Kraken up 3-0, getting his second goal of the season from Larson and Matt Beniers, 3:55 of the second period. Shane Wright would get his 5th goal of the season, a power play goal from Brandon Montour, 13:05 of the second. The Kraken had a 4-0 lead at that point. Noah Dobson would finally get the Islanders on the board on the third, getting his second goal of the season from Holmstrom and Anders Lee, 11:57 of the third. Maxim Siplikov would cut the lead in half, getting his 4th goal of the season from Polak and Horvat, 15:37 of the third. The Islanders would pull the lead down by 2. Unfortunately, they were not able to tie it up as Jaden Schwartz would get the empty netter, his 7th of the season, assisted by Tanev and Adam Larson. And that goal happened with 2 minutes and 40 seconds to go on the clock. So the Kraken, as you can see, won 5-2. All right, the Calgary Flames played host to the St. Louis Blues. Zach Bolduc would kick things off for the Blues in the first, getting his 3rd goal of the season, a power goal from Shen and Broberg, 12:49 of the opening frame. Robert Thomas would increase the lead to 2-0, getting his fourth goal of the year from Neighbors and Ryan Sutter. 14:49 of the first period, so the Blues had a 2-0 lead at that point. Jacob Pelletier would get his first goal of the season from Lomberg and Miramanov. 15:04 of the first, cutting into the lead, making it 2-1 at that point. Over 5 minutes into the second, Matt Coronado would tie the game up at 2, getting his 7th goal of the season, a power play goal from Zary and Uyghur. Pavel Buchnevich would score in the third, 6 minutes into the frame exactly, getting his 7th goal of the season from Rob Thomas and Philip Prosberg. The Blues had a 3-2 lead at that point. Mackenzie Uyghur would tie it up 7:06 in the third, getting his 4th goal of the season, assisted by Huberdeau. We would need overtime to settle this one, and Colton Parayko would get the game-winning goal, his 5th of the season, from Rob Thomas and Dylan Holloway, 2:25 of the overtime frame. Now we're on to the last game from Thursday. As it stayed in Alberta, the Edmonton Oilers played host to the Columbus Blue Jackets. In the first, Kevin Labanc would give the Blue Jackets an early 1-0 lead, getting his 2nd goal of the season from, oh God help me, Pythia and Werenski, 2:31 of the first. Zach Hyman would tie the game up in the first, getting his 4th of the season from McDavid and Evan Bouchard, 9:46 of the opening frame. Leon Draisaitl in the second would get his 18th of the season from McDavid and Bouchard, 2:22 of the second frame. Matthias Ekholm would get a power play goal, his 3rd of the season, from Skinner and Henrique, 4:02 of the second frame, putting the Oilers up 3-1. Zach Hyman would get his 2nd goal of the game, his 5th of the season, assisted by Nugent Hopkins and Connor McDavid, 6:53 of the second frame. They had a 4-1 lead at that point. Damon Severson would cut into the lead, getting his 5th of the year from Sillinger and Fantilli, 10:02 of the second, making it 4-2. Jeff Skinner would score with 1.5 minutes to go in the second, getting his 5th of the year, assisted by Henrique and Janmark. So I'm pretty sure the Oilers had a 5-2 lead heading into the third, and they did. Cole Sillinger would cut into the lead, getting his 4th of the season from Harris and Christensen, 6:10 of the third period. Leon Draisaitl will get his 2nd goal of the game, a power play goal, his 19th of the season from McDavid and Nugent Hopkins, 13:37 of the third, putting the Oilers up 6-3, and that's where we would stand at the end of regulation. So that takes care of all the games, and as I do when I'm caught up, I will look at the standings in all 4 divisions. So I'll see if I can line this up. It's not going to be a perfect shot, but I'll do my best. Okay, I'll hold that there for now, and then once I scroll down, I'll put the tablet back. So starting in the Atlantic, we have the Toronto Maple Leafs. They're in first place of that division. They have a record of 16-7-2. They have 34 points. The Florida Panthers are in second place with a record of 16-9-2. They also have 34 points. And the Boston Bruins are in third with a record of 14-11-3. They have 31 points. The Metropolitan Division has the Washington Capitals, and who would have had them as the top seed in that division, especially when they're down their captain, Ovechkin. I certainly thought they would have fallen off of cloud 9, but they seem to be steamrolling right now. 17-6-2, they have 36 points. The New Jersey Devils are in second place with a record of 17-9-2. They also have 36 points. And the Carolina Hurricanes are 17-8-1. They have 35 points. The 2 teams in the wild card are the Tampa Bay Lightning, 13-9-2. They have 28 points, and the New York Rangers are 13-10-1. They have 27 points. It's looking more realistic that if the Rangers want to make the playoffs, they're probably looking at a wild card position, because right now they're 8 points out of third place for those Carolina Hurricanes, and I never would have thought that they'd be fighting for their playoff lives. Again, there's still lots of hockey. Maybe they go on a really hot streak and they can play catch up. But when you're down 8-9 points over a quarter into the season, I think it's going to be tough for them to catch third place in that division. So if you're a Rangers fan, you're probably hoping you can hold on to a playoff spot in the one of 2 potential wildcard spots. Because like I said, when you're 8-9 points back, it's pretty tough to climb that mountain. The Philadelphia Flyers are just on the outside looking in. They have a record of 12, 11, and 3. They have 27 points. The Pittsburgh Penguins, who would have thought they'd be this close to a playoff spot after their poor start, are 11, 12, and 4. They have 26 points. The Columbus Blue Jackets are 11, 11, and 3. They have 25 points. They're only 2 points out of a playoff spot. The Sabres also have 25 points. They have a record of 11, 12, and 3. The New York Islanders are another team that has the same amount of points. 9, 11, and 7 is their record. The Ottawa Senators, they're only 3 points out of a playoff spot, 11, 12, and 2. They have 24 points. The Red Wings also have 24 points with a record of 10, 12, and 4. And the Montreal Canadiens, who would have thought they'd be this close in the standings, considering they went on that terrible losing streak. 10, 13, and 3, they are 23 points. So between last place and the second wildcard team, they're only separated by 4 points. So the teams at the bottom are starting to cook. They're starting to do something right. So I think this might be a dogfight going all the way to the end. Normally when you're over a quarter way into the season, if you're at the bottom of the standings, you're pretty much looking at a mountain to climb. But, I mean, considering 10th place to second place, like I said, is only separated by 4 points. Well, if the Habs win 2 games, the Rangers lose 2 games, they could be ahead of them in the standings. It's so crazy and so tight. But yeah, I think this is going to be a dogfight all the way to the end, and I hope it is, because once teams start to separate, then it's like, you're going to be a seller by the trade deadline. Oh my God, I'm losing my voice. So in the Western Conference, I better talk before I can't talk, I guess. The Minnesota Wild, who would have had them in first place? I would have had them as a wild card at best. Are 17, 4, and 4. They have 38 points. The Winnipeg Jets are 19, 8, and 0. They also have 38 points. And the Dallas Stars are 16, 9, and 0. They have 32 points. The Vegas Golden Knights are in first place in the Pacific Division with a record of 17, 7, and 3. They have 37 points. The Los Angeles Kings are 15, 8, and 3. They have 33 points. And the Calgary Flames, after their win, are back in the top 3 of that division with a 13, 9, and 5 record. They have 31 points. The 2 teams in the wild card both come from Canada. The Vancouver Canucks are 13, 7, and 4. They have 30 points. The Edmonton Oilers are 14, 10, and 2. They also have 30 points. And the rest of the Western Conference looks like this. Now, as I said in the Eastern Conference, how the last team and the second wildcard team are separated by 4 points, well, you can see there's a bit of a significant difference between, say, the Blackhawks and the Oilers. The Avalanche are just on the outside looking in. They're 14, 3, and 0. They have 28 points. They are 2 points out of a playoff spot. The St. Louis Blues are with them with points. However, the record is 13, 12, and 2. The Seattle Kraken are 13, 13, and 1. They have 27 points. The San Jose Sharks are 10, 14, and 5. They have 25 points. The Utah Hockey Club are 10, 11, and 4. They have 24 points. The Anaheim Ducks are 10, 11, and 3. They have 23 points. The Nashville Predators are 7, 14, and 6, 20 points. That is just dreadful. And the Chicago Blackhawks are 8, 16, and 2. They have 18 points. So what I want to do really quick before I end the video is, I know, again, I've said several times, there's still lots of hockey left, but unlike the Eastern Conference, which I just showed you, is so close in the standings that any team can jump from the bottom of that conference to a couple of positions after, if they can get a couple of wins, that is. But I'm going to go through who I believe right now are the contenders and the pretenders, at least when it comes to the teams that are currently out of a playoff spot. Colorado, I think they're a contender. There's no way they're going to have playoff hockey without the Avalanche in it. I guarantee they'll be able to finally get hot, and I could see them competing for, if not a wild card spot, maybe even going back to that top 3, because the Stars are only 4 points ahead of the Avalanche. So if the Avalanche can win 2 games, just like I talked with the Habs and the Rangers, and say the Avs win 2 games and Stars lose 2 games, well, the Avs could be right back into that top 3 position in the the Central Division. Another contender, the Blues. Again, they're right with the Avalanche. I think for now, I say Seattle is a contender. They're 3 points out of a playoff spot. So again, if they can get on a bit of a hot streak, then they can start winning consecutive games. They're looking at being a very good team. But again, they've shown signs that they're not the team they were 2 years ago when they made the playoffs. Yes, there have been player changes, coaching changes since then. But for the most part, this expansion team, a lot of them are still from that team from 3 years ago. So it's not like they're a bunch of new guys that are just trying to get along with each other. These guys have been in the same dressing room, probably the same bus and the same plane for a number of years. So they're a little inconsistent, but for now, I'd say they could be a contender again, only if they can, avoid losing X amount of games and winning consecutive ones at the same time. And then I think the rest of them are pretenders. I mean, yes, the Sharks are only 5 points behind the Oilers, but realistically, I don't have them as a playoff team. Utah Hockey Club, I didn't think they were going to be a playoff team. They got off to a good start, and they're only 6 points back. So again, there's no teams are eliminated this early in the postseason, or in the regular season, I should say. But Utah, again, I think they're close. Maybe in a year or two, I could see them competing for a playoff position. They're still a young team, but I think 6 points out. Again, yes, they're not eliminated, but I don't see them as a wild card team because, let's be honest, with that Central Division, there's a lot of good teams, and I've already listed about 4 or 5 teams above them. So, and you can't have 6 teams from one division make the playoffs. So I think Utah, Anaheim, Nashville, and Chicago, those 5 teams that I just discussed are definitely going to be pretenders. And it's a shame because I never would have had Nashville this early in the season out of a playoff position. Now, I really hope for their sake that I bite my tongue and they go on a really crazy hot streak, but they got to get 7 wins just to get back to 500. And they have not gone on the 7-game winning streak. And we're over a quarter way into the season. So I'm sorry, Nashville fans. If anyone does tune in and you're a Nashville fan, this season is just atrocious. Like, this is not what I expected. This is not what anybody expected. I had them in the top 3 of your division. You're lucky if you get a wild card spot. So that's all I got to say. And Chicago, again, a very young team. I think they're still a few years away from getting competitive. So, yeah, I'm not going to say any more about that. That's all I got to say. But anyways, I just wanted to go through who I thought were the teams that are starting to push away and the teams that are likely going to be at the bottom of the standings. So maybe when I get to the midway park, I'll try to do this again. Hopefully some of the teams that I thought were going to be bad, maybe they can excel. And maybe some teams I thought were going to be good, we're going to be bad by the game 41 part. But again, a lot of teams, as you can see on the screen, have only played between 24 and 29 games so far this season. So we're not even halfway there. We're getting close, but we're not halfway there just yet. All right, that's going to take care of Thursday's review from the National Hockey League. As always, if you're new to this channel and you like this type of content, feel free to hit the sub button. I'd be very grateful and very appreciative. Until next time, and as always, take care.